needed to do a better job. We did a great job, I thought, with the halftime swing. I think that's where really we kind of got a jump up there a little bit, but really didn't really settle the game and kind of get it under control, and then obviously finish as we got towards the end. But it's really all three phases. I mean, there's plays in all three phases where I think that we obviously could have changed the outcome, and that's where we got to get better. I think a lot of the guys on the team, one of the things too is that some of the guys that were on that field yesterday have either never played for the Detroit Lions, were rookies, or haven't played football in a long time. Even the guys that were out there that were injured at the end of last year hadn't played in even longer. So I think from that standpoint, it was first game for everybody trying to get things right. We obviously got to do a better job there. Certainly was different playing in our stadium with no fans. That was unique, I would say, from that aspect of it. So we definitely missed the fans there too. But, we got a lot of work to do. We got a long season, and, we got to get going to really Green Bay in front of us and another division game. So it's important that we learn from today, we get going and, flip the page and get ready here and have another good week of practice. So it's kind of where we're at right now.
All right, Larry.
Hi, Matt. When you did a self-scout after last season with, the blown leads, and then you do it yesterday as a team, what can you do as a coach to help this team finish better?
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's a lot of plays. I would say we focused on a lot of the plays that happened in the first three quarters. I think, we understand the plays that happened at the end of the game that we've got to do a better job of. But the first three quarters, we certainly could have put ourselves in better position to not leave that door open at the end, even if it's cracked just a little bit in the NFL. We certainly understand the things that turn a game, especially late in the game. And statistically, all that stuff shows up again. So I think from us from yesterday, we know that, we got to make some plays. In one of the phases or all three phases, we've got to be able to execute and make sure that, we capitalize on the opportunities that we have to make those plays. So keep putting the guys in those situations, trying to get everybody on the same page as much as possible with the new pieces that we have in place and the new players that are out there on the field so that, we all kind of moving as one. That's important for all of us. And certainly, we just got to keep fighting to get better. That's really it. And you don't want to be in those situations at the end of the game. You really want to make sure you try to do everything possible before that to handle that so that you're not in those situations.
How do you have your players avoid, the here we go again mentality, the ones that were on the team last year? It's easy for a coach or maybe a vet to say it's a new year, but the guys who lived that last year, how do you get that thought out of their head?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that, for us, obviously last year is last year, and there's some definitely pieces that are different than where we were last year from that aspect of it. So we make sure that we're focusing on the guys that are here now. I think there's a lot of guys here that are in key roles that were not part of last year's team, so they certainly don't have that mentality at all. And, for us, we got to actually make sure it doesn't creep in. Sometimes maybe you hear it too much from the outside world, then you start to think, is that the case? But it's not the case for us inside. So right now for us, we got to make sure we just understand it was week one and we got to improve week two.
Kyle?
Afternoon, Coach. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Deandre Swift looks like a guy who's going to make a lot of plays for you, right? We've seen it on the practice field. Didn't make the play at the end of the game there. What were you telling him when you guys went up the tunnel together, when you put your arm around him? And have you checked in with him today? How do you, handle a rookie, get him over a moment like that and ready for the Packers in 6 days?
Yeah, I mean, I think from that aspect, he's a great kid. Obviously, I know in this virtual world, you guys haven't had a lot of chance to spend time around him in person, but he's a great kid. And I think when we were walking up the tunnel, I just kind of grabbed him, put my arm around him because I knew that he was going to put too much of this on him when it's not him. It's not him at all. We had a lot of opportunities to win that game. It's not about him at all. It's about the other plays that happened. And he's going to make a lot of plays for this team. He's going to be a great player for this team. And everybody goes through growing pains from that aspect of it. And I just want him to know that, he's a great player. He's a great guy. He's going to come to work. He's going to keep pushing forward. And to think that we didn't win the game because of his play is totally inaccurate. Obviously, it's just one of many plays from that aspect of it. And, we can't do that to a really good young player, and I think if anybody tries to do that to a really good young player, then, you run the risk of that guy actually believing that. And that's not the case. He's a great young player and we should all support him and we should all be behind him. And, the great thing about that room is, especially with Adrian coming in and carry on his leadership and all the guys that are in there, I think they know that too, and everybody on the team. I mean, honestly, it was. He's because he's a young guy and he was in that situation. I think he's going to put more on his shoulders, and that's just the way that he is. He's going to take that and say, "Oh, I should have done this," but honestly, we should have done a lot more as a team. Like he shouldn't even been in that position. So he'll be great. You know, he's a great kid. He's a good young player, and we'll just get him back out there. Everyone believes in him. We all believe in each other, so we'll be all right.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep.
That's
Good afternoon, Coach.
How we doing?
Jamie Collins got ejected yesterday. I just wanted to hear your reaction to that and if you thought that it was justified. I looked on the replay like he was trying to explain himself, just if you could share some insight to what happened there. You spoke to him.
Yep, I've spoken to him at length and spoken to the team, and look, I think the bottom line is, there's rules in place for a reason, and it's to protect everybody that's out on the field, including the officials, and everybody knows that. Whether it's an honest mistake or not, you just can't do that, and that's the bottom line. But he understands that, he knows that. He just, like you said, was trying to demonstrate more so than do anything aggressive. It was more of just hey, this is what's going on, and unfortunately got too close. So it's not okay. We know that, and we can't afford to lose a great player at the beginning of the game. And it's a hard lesson for everybody to learn, but it's another reminder of those situations. And certainly, our first game with officials, it's a good check for everybody to understand. Like you can't touch an official. Just it is what it is.
And on the game, I know you're conditioned. You've coached a long time. Just turn the page and move forward to week 2. But yesterday, the way you guys lost, was it maybe a little bit more difficult for a loss like that to turn the page for you and get over it and move on so fast?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still on Monday, so I'm still working through the game from that aspect of it. Certainly, by tonight, by tomorrow morning, we'll definitely flip the page. There's a lot of learning in this game. There's a lot of teaching. There's a lot of situations that we've got to make sure we get corrected. This isn't we don't have the luxury of the 4 preseason games to kind of teach some of this stuff right now. And you try to do the best you can within the, whatever it was, 14 padded days of practice that we had, but certainly live in-game action. We're coaching, we're teaching, and we're learning on the fly, and we got to do a better job so that we can turn those into W's and not L's, because they still count right now. So there was a lot of teaching that had to go on today, and understanding that it is week 1, and there's going to be some bad football here through September. We know that, but the quicker we can improve and get better through the course of this month, and the better we'll be as we kind of hit those next stretches. So hopefully we can learn from today. I know the guys are, they did a great job with the meetings. They were, really on top of it. Most of them with today's technology, they've already probably self-corrected harder than we're going to by the time they come in here in the morning. So from that aspect of it, it was good just kind of to reemphasize those points of what we need to get better at.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Tony.
Coach, to the injury situation, no excuses, but when you get injuries to one position group, like you had with the secondary, and if you include Akuda in there, how difficult is that? In the same vein, you look around the league, hamstring seems to be the injury du jour, soft tissue. How much of that is because of you guys had very little OTAs, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. It's no excuses, like you said. We don't use that as an excuse at all. I certainly do, though, know that within a game, and this is just game management sort of information that we look at, when you lose 2 guys in one position, we know how thin you are roster depth-wise, and we do understand that there's going to be a lot of adjusting and adapting and things that we're going to have to do. So, that was hard yesterday, but Tony McRae did a great job, I thought, of stepping in and competing. He gave us everything he had. He was making plays on special teams, and so everybody knows they got to be ready to go, whenever that happens. I think for us, we are taking a hard look at the hamstrings and the soft tissue injuries right now. Some of it for us, too, is maybe we mentioned last week, I'm trying to coordinate with, some of the strength training that we're doing along with practicing and kind of the muscle groups that we're using and based on what days, because I think you're right. I think throughout the entire league, everyone is looking at the same thing going, okay, we had a condensed preseason. We didn't have an off season. We're trying to get these guys on what we call max high efforts and what that looks like and when the injuries are occurring. And, can we do something to try to build them up and keep making sure that we're, building on top of that so that when we get to the game and those really open up, that we don't have these injuries in the game itself, So I think it's a league-wide thing that everyone's looking at. It's really groins and hamstrings. I would say those are the 2 areas. And then after that would be calves. Those are kind of, it's that posterior chain that goes down through the back of your leg that right now we're looking at from the stress on those.
Brad.
Matt, you got to see your quarterback play in game action for the first time in a long time yesterday. As you looked back at the tape, what worked and then what almost didn't work? Do you wish, looking back, that you guys had maybe taken more shots, had maybe extended the field a little bit more? And was that a product of Kenny not being there in the game? Did you know early in the week that he wasn't going to play? Kind of a twofold question there.
Yeah, definitely, just we were kind of following the protocol as far as hoping to have him for the game, from that aspect of it. He's been an established player for us for a long time. So we're holding hope to try to get him out there any way we could. As far as, with Matthew, I think, you hit it on the head. I think there's a lot of guys that haven't played football in a long time, and he hasn't played in a while, so that was his first action out there too. I think he's given us everything he's got, through training camp, through the game. He's competitive. He's tough. He's trying to do everything right. A lot of times we just got to go out and just got to play better all the way across the board. Certainly that's there's some guys over there on that Bears front that are pretty good, that can cause some problems. And certainly you're going to be making sure that you have certain things in place to take care of them. But sometimes that hinders maybe some of the deeper throws that we can get downfield, especially if we don't feel maybe necessarily we have all the guys in our arsenal that can go downfield in those situations. I'd say one thing that I definitely saw in the game, really for both teams, was just at the end of the game, I think everybody was moving slower. I just think, to try to get the ball downfield on both sides of the ball, guys were just, just weren't quite getting there what they normally would. It's the first time guys have played kind of into that snap count, obviously, in this year, and then really through training camp, we never kind of got up to that total volume. So you could see that across the board. I know that'll improve as we go, and everybody will get better as we push towards the season.
Justin.
Matt, every time you guys fall short, it's consistent. You point the finger to yourself immediately. If Sunday night and Monday are about teaching and learning, what is something maybe you learned about coaching after this game, about your style, anything from this game that was your big takeaway for you and your staff?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely. I'm gonna pick apart kind of what we did as a staff and see what are the areas that maybe we could do different. I mean, certainly there's plays in the games that you want to have back, whether you're a play caller or from my standpoint as a game management, maybe it could have made a difference, and maybe I could have helped the players better. Some of it goes back to the preparation. Maybe we could have done something a little bit different, different package, spend some time on some different looks, maybe a couple of different plays situationally to try to make sure that, we executed some of those, especially at the end of the game, better. So that's where I start. I kind of go through my process there. And I would say from my end, there's a lot to learn from yesterday's game. I think that definitely in some situations we could have tried to help the players out a little bit more and maybe put them in some positions to make some plays. And then on the flip side of it, we got to make some of those plays. But, it's always, I got to start with me, whenever there's something wrong like that. And how can I improve? How can I get better? And we will this week. I told the team that this morning, said I'll coach better and we'll play better and we'll go out and practice hard and we'll make sure we're ready to go.
I know we're in the 2-minute drill here at the end of this press conference, but with all the hamstring injuries in your secondary, you mentioned about not wanting to extend those injuries earlier in the week. Do you almost have to provide yourself some insurance on game day this upcoming Sunday, even if those guys are medically cleared?
Yeah, I caught a little bit of that, Justin. You broke up on me, but I was just saying, I think it was the hamstrings, and as we work towards the week and making sure that everybody's good at the end of the week.
Yeah, and just making sure you have some insurance on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, one of the things that, for us, we obviously, as we get towards Saturday, and we know that's kind of the last time we can make roster moves and situations where we can either bring somebody up from that standpoint, practice squad, kind of have the new rule this year. So we're, we put guys in position to be ready to go. Sometimes it's not always maybe a 1-for-1. It may not always be the same position. Maybe it's our next best playmaker, or it's another guy in the pass rush, or another guy in the front. If it's a DB, might be the next DB. It just kind of depends with special teams in there too, of what that player's impact is in that phase and who's available to kind of maybe handle some of the duties there that may free up another guy to have to take the responsibility of someone that has to replace someone with a hamstring injury or something like that.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
Mike and Dave, last questions.
Yeah, Matt, I'm curious, what was it like for you yesterday not calling defensive plays? And at any point, maybe even in the fourth quarter, did you take over defensive play calling at all?
Yeah. No, I mean, Corey was, he was on top of the defensive calls. He actually had a really good feel for it. And, we were trying to make adjustments and everything on the sideline. I was really trying to do the best job I could of trying to, get with all the phases, all three phases. That was our first time as a staff, and with two new coordinators to try to game manage in real football situations, without the preseason game. So as much as the simulations as we did, obviously within the game, things move fast and making sure that my communication to them was clear. We go through a lot of scenarios during the game, certainly from hypotheticals that are really important so that when we get in those situations, we're not kind of in last minute. So it could be something from a standpoint of, hey, look, this is the drive where by field position, if we get it close, we're going to do this on fourth down. We're going to do this on third down, and kind of some of the game management calls that need to be done there. So I was really trying to make sure that I wasn't putting any of the coordinators maybe behind a little bit by making a late decision from that standpoint.
And just real quick, any update on Trufant and Coleman?
Tell me one more time.
Trufant and Coleman, any update there?
No update right now. Evaluating them today, and we got to see what they look like tomorrow.
Thanks.
Yep.
Dave, last one real quick.
Yeah, well, I was just going to ask about the cornerbacks too. Since you have a short-term IR this year, 3 weeks, are either of those guys IR candidates, I guess, the cornerback side of this?
Yeah, I don't know right now.
And just the one thing, you focused on plays in the first three quarters, you said. Can you explain a little bit more why that is then?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think for us, just to understand opportunities that we have, whether it's, down in the red area where we got to capitalize there, whether it's third down plays that maybe we got to stop them, early down run game and how that affects, control of the game, things like that. If we want to, get those corrected earlier. And some of the plays were just, first time out there, we're doing some things that weren't really maybe how we either practiced or coached it or whatever it might be. And we just try to settle some things down in the game a little bit to kind of be more productive, I would say, early in the game from that phase. I really, honestly, it was a tie ball game. And then we had the halftime swing, which I thought was excellent. Those guys did a great job of that. And then, we kind of came back to that third quarter and then started the fourth quarter. And, just there's some plays in there that I think we really could have changed maybe the scenarios at the end of the game and some of the, call it 2 minute to 4 minute type back and forth situations that we were in that maybe would have just kind of nailed it down to maybe a 2 minute situation all the way through for the other team. So some of those plays that I think are really important to capitalize on so that you don't have to be in those constant back and forth situations at the end.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, Matt.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. All right. Stay safe and healthy.